Hi, Sally Walker here, your hormone and slow age expert. So prevention is better than cure. That is the case for most things related to our health, but especially so with our joints. So what do we need to do to help prevent us getting joint problems such as arthritis, wear and tear? First thing on the list, people, is rest and more rest and more rest. So it's only when we're resting that we can heal and repair. So we need to get enough hours of rest. It's also called sleep every single night. 7 to 8 hours, I think, is what is generally accepted as being good. But the most important word here is uninterrupted. So if your sleep is interrupted, you're up peeing, or you can't seem to close the mind from all the noise that's going on, whatever is keeping you awake or waking you up, you really need to do something about it, because it's going to be affecting your health in many ways. But at the moment we're talking about joint health, and it will decrease your ability to heal and repair your joints. So that's first on the list. Next on the list is your body weight. How much are you weighing? Because if you're having extra kilos that have to be carried around, then some of these joints are going to be under a lot of pressure and are going to be worn down much quicker. So have a little look at some of the other blogs about ideal body weights and blood sugar control, etc., etc. So the next thing on the list is smoking. Nothing good to say about smoking, is there? So if you are smoking, this will have a very negative effect on your joint health. It's going to decrease the blood flow to the joints, and that's no good, is it? Because they're never going to heal and repair if they need to be doing that, and they probably won't be able to be hydrated well enough either. So stop smoking. Another one is, easing the load when you're carrying, when you're lifting things. Be very particular about how you're lifting. Do not have the object too far from your body. Have it close to your center of your body as possible. Bend your knees to lift, and all these kind of things, yeah. But if the object you're lifting is too heavy or it's too unhandy, then get somebody else to help you lift, so you can lift holding each end of the object that needs to be lifted. Be careful of that one. Moving is really good. Your joints love to be moved. They love to be exercised, but be very careful about the impact. Higher impact exercises can damage your joints. So if you do have the beginning of some wear and tear, so you probably want to keep things down to low impact, walking rather than running, swimming, water exercises kind of thing would be quite good. And I actually was told that wearing your high heels as well, a bit too much, because I'm not going to say don't wear them, but wearing them too often also will move where you are bearing weight, and this puts quite a lot of pressure on joints which are not usually bearing so much weight. So be very careful with your stilettos, ladies. I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying be very careful. If you do have an injury, you must get it looked at by a professional as quick as possible, so it doesn't become chronic and you don't start developing arthritis at an earlier age. That's not good at all, is it? Then we've got some joint-friendly foods. So what are they? Well, oily fish is a really good thing because it's filled with omega-3 fatty acids, which are really good for inflammation, so they're anti-inflammatory. Sulfur foods, they're so important because they help with liver detoxification. So if your liver doesn't detox as well as it should do, and some of these fat-soluble molecules don't become water-soluble, it may start storing these molecules in joints. So sulfur foods, eggs are really good, liver is really good as well, and some of the sulfury veggies, like your Brussels sprouts and your cauliflowers and things like this. Just make sure they are cooked so you don't get the anti-nutrients, but the sulfur is not destroyed by heating. But just make sure you're cooking these things rather than eating them raw. So bone broth is amazing, and getting animal protein, which has a lot of collagen. So collagen is really important for bones, and they're very important for joints as well. So make sure you're getting some good animal protein and getting some nice bone broth. So what about joint unfriendly foods? So what have we got going on here? Well, pretty much all processed foods will give you way too much sugars and artificial sugars and way too much omega-6 fatty acids, which are all pro-inflammatory. So they're no good at all. And be careful with the grains, because many of the grains contain gluten, and there are a lot of joint problems, especially more the inflammatory joint problems like the rheumatoid arthritis, which are very much affected by gluten. So be very, very, very careful of those. So what about supplements? I'm very often asked about, well, what kind of supplements should help my joint problems? So these could be supplements like the omega-3 fatty acids and the magnesiums and the vitamin Ds and the vitamin Ks. They're all really good. And then there could be things like the glucosamine sulfate, sulfur, the chondroitin sulfate, sulfur, the MSMs and the SAMEs. All of these are giving you some kind of sulfur and also giving you some of the sugar molecules, the glucosamine, the chondroitins, which actually your cartilage is made from. You just have to make sure you're getting enough. So there is an article in the blog called about herbs and supplements which are good for arthritis and good for joint health. So have a look at that, because then there's the details of how much you need to get, where you can buy good products, etc. So have a look at that article. What about herbs? Yeah. Well, the top of the list, the first on the list of the herbs which I like is cannabis. Is that a herb, Sally? Yes, it is. It's a plant, isn't it? It's like a weed, I suppose, in a way. It's a grass, isn't it, rather than a herb. Anyway, cannabis, the whole plant, not your CPDs, because your CPDs are not going to bind to the receptors, so they're not going to have the biggest effect. You want the whole cannabis plant, because this has a lot of anti-inflammatory effects, but it also has a lot of pain relief effects. And it's absolutely amazing what cannabis oil, I'm not saying smoke it, I'm saying get the cannabis oil, and then you can have it in different percentages, so you don't necessarily have the high from the THC, but you get the effects from the THC in the joints. Very interesting. Cannabis is very, very good. Green teas have lots of anti-inflammatory molecules, so that could be good. Turmeric, the curcumin, as it's also called, the yellow spice, which is used a lot in Indian food, also very good anti-inflammatories. Ginger, make some ginger teas, for example, and then frankincense. Frankincense is also a very powerful anti-inflammatory. So these can also give good joint health. But as I said, look at that article called Herbs and Supplements for Joint Health, because there I go through in detail how much you need and where you can get the good products, because getting good products is absolutely important, because otherwise you're wasting your money. Okay, was that interesting? Send me an email. Let me know if you thought it was interesting, and if you have joint pain and you do some of the things I recommend and possibly feel better. Let me know all about it. Happy hormones, happy life.